The rain fell hard against the windows of Kensington Palace that November evening. Inside, Prince William stood in his private office, reviewing security reports. His jaw tightened as he read the words on the page. Something wasn't right. A scheduled visit to a children's hospital in Manchester had been planned for weeks. Thousands of people were expected. The press had been notified. Everything seemed normal. But buried in the security briefing was a single line that made his blood run cold. Unverified threat. Level 2 concern. Investigating. William had learned long ago that unverified didn't mean harmless. It meant someone, somewhere, had picked up chatter, conversation, a plan, something that made the security team pause. He picked up his phone and called Marcus, his head of personal protection. The line rang twice before a calm, professional voice answered. "Your Royal Highness, Marcus, I need the full briefing, not the sanitized version." There was a pause. Marcus knew what that meant. William wasn't just a royal who smiled and waved. He was a former search and rescue pilot. He understood risk. He understood threat assessment. And he knew when people were holding back information to avoid worrying him. "Sir, we're looking into it now. It may be nothing, or it may be something. I want to know before tomorrow morning. If you're enjoying this story, hit the subscribe button now. You won't want to miss what happens next." William ended the call and walked to the window. Outside, the palace gardens were dark and empty. Security lights created long shadows across the grass. He could see 2 guards making their rounds, their breath visible in the cold air. He thought about Catherine and the children, asleep upstairs. He thought about the families who would bring their sick children to see him tomorrow. Parents who needed hope. Kids who deserved a moment of joy. But if something went wrong, his phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. "Meeting in 20 minutes. Situation room, you need to see this." William grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. His protection officer, James, fell into step beside him without a word. They moved quickly through the palace corridors, their footsteps echoing off the marble floors. The situation room was in the basement level, secure, soundproof, away from curious ears. When William entered, 5 people were already there. Marcus stood at the head of the table. Detective Chief Inspector Sarah Chen from the Metropolitan Police was pulling up files on a laptop. 2 intelligence officers William recognized sat quietly, their faces grim. "Show me," William said. Marcus nodded to Sarah. She pressed a key and an image appeared on the screen. It was a screenshot of a social media post. The account was anonymous. The words were vague, but threatening. "Tomorrow, the future changes. Manchester will remember." William felt his stomach tighten. That could mean anything, he said. A protest. A publicity stunt. "That's what we thought," Sarah replied. "Until we found 2 more posts from different accounts. Same message, same timing." She clicked through the images. Each post was slightly different, but the meaning was clear. Something was planned. Something aimed at tomorrow's visit. "It could be coordinated," Marcus added. "It could be trolls copying each other. We can't be certain." "What's the recommendation?" William asked. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what he was asking. Should the visit be canceled? Marcus cleared his throat. "Sir, the safest option. I didn't ask for the safest option. I asked for the recommendation." Sarah leaned forward. "We've increased security. Plainclothes officers, snipers on surrounding buildings, explosive detection units, K9 teams, metal detectors at every entrance." "But," William pressed, "someone is truly determined, and if they're smart enough, to stay off our radar." She didn't finish the sentence. William looked around the room. These were professionals, people who had dedicated their lives to protecting others. And they were worried. That's when he realized something. This wasn't just about him. Asterisk. William studied the faces around the table. Years of training told him to read people, not just reports. Sarah's eyes kept darting to the door. Marcus was gripping his pen too tightly. Intelligence officers hadn't touched their coffee. They knew something they weren't saying. "There's more," William said. It wasn't a question. Sarah exchanged a glance with Marcus. He nodded slightly. "We picked up chatter from an extremist forum 3 days ago," she began. "Someone claiming to have inside information about your schedule. Specific details. The hospital name. The arrival time. even the entrance you'd be using. That information is public, William countered. Not the entrance, sir. That was changed 48 hours ago for security reasons. Only 12 people knew about it. The implication hung in the air like smoke. A leak. Inside the palace, or the security team? William felt anger rising but pushed it down. Emotion wouldn't help now. Who are the 12? We're running background checks on everyone, Marcus said quickly. Phones, emails, financial records. If there's a connection, we'll find it. How long will that take? 2, maybe 3 days? The visit is tomorrow morning. Silence. William walked to the window. Through the reinforced glass, he could see the lights of London spreading out in every direction. Millions of people going about their lives. Most of them would never know how often threats like this emerged. How many were stopped before they became headlines? What about the hospital? He asked. Have they been notified? Not yet, Sarah replied. We didn't want to cause panic. The families have been looking forward to this for weeks. William closed his eyes. He could picture them. Parents holding their children's hands. Kids in wheelchairs wearing their best clothes, excited to meet a real prince. Hope in their eyes. How could he take that away from them? But how could he risk their safety? Show me the tactical plan, he said, turning back to the table. Marcus pulled up a digital map of the hospital. Red dots marked security positions. Blue lines showed the planned route. Yellow zones indicated potential vulnerabilities. There were too many yellow zones. The main entrance opens onto a public street, Marcus explained. High foot traffic. Difficult to secure completely. Requested the area be cleared, but it's a busy shopping district. People will be around. What about the parking garage? It's better, but still exposed. Deliveries come through there. Staff vehicles, ambulances. Hard to control every access point. William studied the map. His military training kicked in. And rescue had taught him to think in terms of risk versus reward. Every mission had dangers. The question was whether the objective justified them. What if we changed the plan entirely? He said suddenly. Everyone looked up. What do you mean? Sarah asked. What if we didn't go to the hospital at all? Marcus frowned. Sir, I know canceling is disappointing, but I didn't say cancel. I said change the plan. What if the hospital came to us? The room went quiet as people processed the idea. You want to bring the children here, to Kensington Palace? Sarah said slowly. Why not? We control the security here. No public streets. No unscreened crowds. We could arrange transportation for the families. Make it even more special than a hospital visit. Marcus started, then stopped. William could see him running calculations in his head. That's actually brilliant, sir. But it's logistically complicated, Sarah added. How many children are we talking about? 23, Marcus said, checking his notes. Plus families. Maybe 60 people total. We could handle that, Sarah said, warming to the idea. Secure transport. Background checks on every adult. Full screening at the gates. We'd control every variable. William felt hope rising. This could work. Yes. This could keep everyone safe while still honoring the commitment. But then Marcus said something that made his blood freeze. There's one problem. Everyone turned to him. The posts. The threats. They didn't specifically mention the hospital. What do you mean? William asked. Marcus pulled up the screenshots again. He highlighted a phrase William had missed before. Where the prince goes, history follows. That's not about a location, Sarah said quietly. That's about him. Wherever he is, that's the target. The room felt colder suddenly. William understood now. Changing the location wouldn't solve the problem. The threat wasn't about the hospital. It was about him. And if he brought those children to the palace, he might be bringing them directly into danger. We need to find whoever posted these messages, he said. Tonight, how close are we? One of the intelligence officers spoke for the first time. His voice was rough, like he'd been awake for days. We've traced 2 of the accounts to VPN servers, dead ends. The third. He paused. The third was posted from inside the UK, specifically from inside London. How close? William pressed. The officer's jaw tightened. Less than 5 miles from where we're sitting right now. The number hung in the air. 5 miles. In a city of 9 million people, that should have felt like nothing. But in this room, with these stakes, it felt like the walls were closing in. "Do we have a specific location?" William asked. The intelligence officer shook his head. The signal bounced through several access points. "We've narrowed it to a 3-block radius in Notting Hill. Could be a residence. Could be a cafe. Could be someone sitting in their car." "That's still hundreds of possible locations," Sarah said. "We have teams on the ground now," Marcus added. "Going door to door, checking CCTV footage, but it takes time. A time they didn't have." William checked his watch. It was almost midnight. The visit was scheduled for 10 in the morning. 10 hours. That's all they had to find someone who might not even exist as a real threat. "What about the leak?" he asked. The person who knew about the entrance change. "Any progress there?" Sarah pulled up a list on her tablet. 12 names. William recognized most of them. People who had worked for the royal family for years, loyal, trustworthy, or so everyone thought. "We've cleared 8, she said. Their movements, communications, finances, all clean. That leaves 4. She highlighted the remaining names. Thomas Brennan, Palace Security Coordinator, 20 years of service. Jennifer Okafor, Royal Protection Officer. Former military police, David Walsh, Events Manager. Organized hundreds of royal visits. Claire Hartley, Press Liaison. Had access to all scheduling information? Any red flags?" William asked. "Nothing obvious," Sarah admitted, "but we're digging deeper. Bank records, travel history, personal connections." "What about their locations tonight? Right now?" Marcus pulled up a tracking screen. 4 dots appeared on a map.
Ow.
Brennan is home in Croydon. We have surveillance watching the house. Okafor is on duty, currently in the north wing of the palace. Walsh is at a pub in Soho. We have someone there. And Hartley, he paused. "Where's Hartley?" William demanded. "Her phone last pinged 2 hours ago in Notting Hill." The room went silent. "Same area as the post," Sarah said quietly. "Could be coincidence," Marcus offered, but his voice lacked conviction. William stared at the screen. Claire Hartley. He'd met her dozens of times, professional, efficient. She'd coordinated media for his wedding, for the children's first public appearances. She had been at the palace longer than William himself had been married. "Where exactly was the ping?" he asked. The intelligence officer zoomed in on the map. Basing Street, near the Portobello Road, residential, mixed, apartments, shops, restaurants. "And her phone is off now? Or dead? We can't get a signal." William's mind raced. A press liaison would have access to everything. Schedules, routes, security procedures. And they worked closely with outside media, outside contacts. If someone wanted information, Claire would be the perfect source. But why? Money? Ideology? Coercion? "I want to talk to her," William said. "Sir, that's not advisable," Marcus replied quickly. "If she's involved, we don't want to tip her off. And if she's not involved, we're wasting time suspecting an innocent person while the real threat walks free." Sarah leaned forward. "Your Royal Highness, with respect, you can't interview suspects. That's our job, and do it now. Bring her in. I don't care if you have to drag her out of bed." Marcus nodded to one of the officers, who left the room immediately. William began to pace. The pieces weren't fitting together. Something felt off. "These posts," he said, pointing to the screenshots. "They're too vague. If someone really wanted to threaten me, why be cryptic? Why not be specific?" "Maybe they're smart," Sarah suggested. "Vague threats are harder to prosecute. Or maybe it's a distraction." Everyone looked at him. "What if the posts aren't the real threat?" William continued. "What if they're meant to make us focus on Manchester while something else happens somewhere else?" Marcus frowned. "You think there's a second target?" "I think we're looking at this wrong. These posts appeared 3 days ago, the same time the entrance detail leaked. What if whoever leaked the information wanted us to find it? Wanted us to panic and change our plans? To what end?" Sarah asked. William stopped pacing. His heart was racing now. What else is happening tomorrow? What other events are scheduled? Marcus quickly pulled up the royal calendar. His face went pale. Catherine, he said quietly. She's visiting a school in Windsor. Tomorrow morning? Same time as your hospital visit. William felt his chest tighten. How many people know about that visit? It's public knowledge. Been on the calendar for 2 weeks? Security level? Standard. She'll have protection officers, but nothing like what we planned for Manchester. The pieces clicked into place. While everyone focused on William and the hospital, Catherine would be exposed. Predictable location. Predictable time. And if the person leaking information wanted to create chaos, we need to cancel Windsor, William said immediately. Sir, we can't cancel both visits, Marcus protested. The optics alone, I don't care about optics. If I'm right, we've been chasing the wrong threat. Sarah was already on her phone, calling her team. Marcus was typing rapidly on his tablet, pulling up the Windsor security plan, and then the door burst open. The officer who had left earlier stood in the doorway, breathing hard. I found her, he said. Claire Hartley. She's at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. Why? William asked. The officer's voice was grim. Her daughter was in a car accident 3 hours ago. Critical condition. That's why her phone was off. She's been in surgery waiting rooms. William felt the air leave his lungs, not Claire. She wasn't the leak, which meant they were back to square one, and time was running out. Asterisk. William ran his hand through his hair. Claire Hartley wasn't the leak. She was sitting in a hospital, praying her daughter would survive. And here they'd been, suspecting her of treason. Send someone to verify her story, but I believe it, William said quietly. Cross her off the list. It left 3 names. 3 people who had access. 3 potential traitors. Marcus was already moving. I'm pulling Okafor off duty. We'll interview her now. Walsh Tuel. Bring him in from the pub. What about Brennan? Sarah asked. Still at home? We have eyes on his house. He hasn't moved. William looked at the clock. 12:47 a.m., 9 hours and 13 minutes until the scheduled visit. I want to see the Windsor security plan, he said. Marcus pulled it up. The school was smaller than the hospital. Fewer access points, but also fewer security measures. Catherine would arrive, 2 or 3 classrooms, visit the library, then leave. Total time, 90 minutes. How many officers? William asked. For protection officers, 2 armed. Local police securing the perimeter. 8 officers total? Not enough. Sir, it's a school. We don't want to terrify the children with armed guards everywhere. William understood the logic. But logic didn't stop bullets. It's double the security. I don't care how it looks. We'll need authorization from. I'll authorize it. Make the calls. As Marcus stepped away, Sarah moved closer to William. Her voice was low, meant only for him. You need to consider that you might be the target, not the Princess of Wales. These threats could be legitimate. Changing your schedule might be exactly what they want. Chaos, confusion. That's when mistakes happen. So what do you suggest? I suggest you trust your security team. We do this for a living. We've kept your family safe for years. Don't let fear make you second-guess everything. William wanted to argue, but she was right. Fear was clouding his judgment. He was seeing threats everywhere, questioning everyone. Okay, he said finally. What's your professional recommendation? Sarah pulled up a chair. We proceed with Manchester as planned, but with maximum security. We cancel nothing. Canceling shows weakness, emboldens whoever made these threats. We increase Catherine's security in Windsor. We find the source of the leak. And we trust that we're good enough at our jobs to keep you both safe. It was a good plan. Logical, professional. But something still nagged at William. The posts, he said again. Read them to me. Exactly as written. Sarah pulled them up. Tomorrow, the future changes. Manchester will remember. Where the prince goes, history follows. Future, William repeated. Not present, future, could just be dramatic language. or it could mean my children, the future heirs. Sarah's eyes widened. George, Charlotte, and Louis. Where are they tomorrow? Marcus overheard and jumped in. They're at school, Lambrook. Normal day? Security status? Standard school protocol. 2 protection officers on campus. More if needed. Eliam felt sick. While everyone focused on him and Catherine, their children would be sitting in classrooms. Predictable. Vulnerable. We need to pull them out of school, he said. Sir, that will cause immediate media attention, Marcus warned. Questions, speculation, I don't care. It could also be exactly the wrong move. If we're jumping at shadows and if we're not. William's voice was sharp. If something happens to my children because we were too worried about media attention? The room went quiet. Marcus nodded slowly. I'll make arrangements. Discreet pickup. We'll say they're feeling unwell. Do it now. As Marcus left, William sank into a chair. His hands were shaking. This was what they wanted. Whoever was behind this, they wanted him scared, reactive, making emotional decisions instead of strategic ones. But those were his children. Sarah's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and her face changed. What? William asked. We just got a hit on one of the VPN traces. The text broke through the encryption. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. The post was made from a device registered to Thomas Brennan, the security coordinator, the man who had planned hundreds of royal visits, who knew every protocol, every weakness, every contingency. He's still at home? William asked. According to our team, yes. Lights on. TV visible through the window. Then let's go get him. Sir, you can't. I'm not asking permission, Sarah. That man might know who's planning to hurt my family. I want to look him in the eye when he's questioned. Sarah exchanged a look with the remaining officers. They all knew there was no stopping him. Fine, but you stay in the car. We go in, we bring him out, you observe from a distance. Agreed? Agreed. 20 minutes later, William was sitting in the back of an unmarked Range Rover, 2 cars ahead of them. Armed officers prepared to enter Brennan's house. The street was quiet, suburban, the kind of place where nothing bad ever happened. William watched through tinted windows as 6 officers approached the front door. Marcus was with them, coordinating on a radio. They knocked. No answer. They knocked again, louder. Still nothing. Marcus signaled. One officer moved to the back of the house. Another peered through the front window. Then the officer at the window turned and shouted something. His voice was urgent, alarmed. The front door crashed open. Officers poured inside. William leaned forward, his heart pounding. What was happening? 30 seconds passed. A minute, 2, then Marcus emerged, his face ashen. He walked directly to William's car and opened the door. Sir, you need to see this. What is it? Just come. William followed him into the house. The living room looked normal. TV on, coffee cup on the table, magazine open on the couch. But no Thomas Brennan? Where's he? William asked. Marcus led him to the back door. It was open, leading to a small garden. And there, on the ground, was a phone. Brennan's phone, still on, still connected to the internet. He left it here deliberately, Sarah said, coming up behind them. Made the post, then left the phone running so we'd trace it here. A decoy. Where is he really? William demanded. One of the officers called out from the garden shed. You need to see this. They rushed over. Inside the shed, pinned to a wall, was a map. Not of Manchester. Not of Windsor. Of Lambrook School. With red circles around the classrooms where George, Charlotte, and Louis would be sitting tomorrow morning. Asterisk Williams stared at the map. Red circles around his children's classrooms. Times written in precise handwriting. Entry points marked. Security positions noted. This wasn't a vague threat. This was a plan. Get my children. Now, he said, his voice deadly calm. I don't care if you have to drive onto the school grounds. Get them out. Marcus was already on his radio. All units to Lambrook School. Code red, Royal Extraction. Authorization, Windsor 7. Sarah was photographing the map, the shed, everything. This is evidence. This is conspiracy to harm. When we find Brennan, he's going away for life. If we find him, one officer muttered. William turned. What do you mean if? He can't just disappear. You said there was surveillance on this house. There was, the officer replied. We've been watching the front. He must have left through the garden over the back fence hours ago. Hours. William felt rage building. How long have we been watching the wrong house while he's been out there? No one answered. Marcus's radio crackled. Units arriving at Lambrook. School is locked. Night security only. No sign of breach. Thank God, William thought. The children weren't even there yet. They were safe at home, asleep, but in 7 hours, they would have been sitting in those classrooms, marked with red circles. We need to find Brennan before morning, William said. What do we know about him? Family? Friends? Where would he go? Sarah was scrolling through files on her tablet. Thomas Brennan. Age 53. Divorced. One daughter, lives in Scotland. No close friends that we know of. His whole life has been the palace. Financials. That's where it gets interesting. 3 weeks ago, he transferred £40,000 from his account to an offshore account in Cyprus. Then withdrew another £20,000 in cash. £60,000, Marcus said. That's not retirement money. That's running money, or payment for something, William added darkly. Sarah kept reading. He's got no property besides this house. No vacation homes. No rental history. If he's running, he's going somewhere we can't easily track. What about his phone records? Who has he been calling? We're pulling them now, but Sarah stopped mid-sentence. Her face went pale. Oh no, what? His last call before he left the phone here? It was to a burner phone. The call lasted 6 minutes. That was at 11:47 p.m., less than an hour ago. He was coordinating with someone, Marcus said. He's not working alone. The pieces were coming together, but the picture was getting worse. Brennan had inside knowledge. He had money. He had a partner. And he had a detailed plan targeting 3 children who would one day inherit the throne. We need to go public, Sarah said suddenly. Put his face on every news channel. Someone will recognize him. Someone will call it in. No, William said immediately. Sir, with respect, if we go public, we tip off whoever he's working with. They'll know we're onto them. They'll change their plans or disappear entirely. We need to catch them, not just scare them underground. Sarah looked like she wanted to argue, but nodded. Then what do you suggest? William thought hard. 20 years in the military and search and rescue had taught him how people behaved under pressure. Brennan had planned this meticulously. The offshore account, the cash withdrawal, the decoy phone. This wasn't an impulsive act. But everyone makes mistakes. His daughter, William said, in Scotland. What do we know about her? Marcus pulled up the file. Emma Brennan. Age 28. Lives in Edinburgh. Works as a nurse. No criminal record. No apparent extremist connections. Does she know what her father's planning? We don't think so. They're not close. Barely speak, according to phone records. William had an idea. It was manipulative. It was cold. But it might work. Call her. Tell her we need to speak with her father urgently. Make it sound routine. Security update. Don't mention that he's missing. See if she tries to contact him. If she does, we can trace the call, Sarah said, catching on. Even if he's using a burner phone, we can triangulate the signal. Exactly. Marcus made the call. It rang 4 times before a sleepy voice answered. Hello? Ms. Brennan? This is Marcus Webb from Royal Protection Command. I apologize for the late hour. We're trying to reach your father regarding a security matter. Is he with you by any chance? There was a long pause. Too long? No. Why would he be with me? We've been unable to reach him at home. We thought he might be visiting. Another pause. William could hear the doubt in her voice. Is something wrong? Is he okay? I'm sure he's fine. If you hear from him, could you ask him to call us immediately? It's quite urgent. Yes, of course. 8. Call ended. Marcus looked at William. She's going to call him. I know. They waited. 3 minutes, 5:10. Then Sarah's equipment lit up. Signal, burner phone. Incoming call to Brennan's device. She took the bait. Where? William demanded. Sarah's fingers flew across her keyboard. Triangulating. Got it. Signal is coming from central London. Near. Oh God, where? William repeated. Sarah's voice was barely audible. Near Kensington Palace? The room went cold. Brennan wasn't in Manchester. He wasn't in Windsor. He was here. In London. Near the palace. Near William's family. He knew we'd figure it out, William said, his voice shaking with barely controlled fury. The map, the school, all of it. He wanted us to think the children at school were the target, so we'd focus there. But the real target, Marcus didn't finish, is my family tonight, in the palace. William ran for the door. His protection officers scrambled to keep up. The drive back to Kensington Palace felt like it took hours, though it was only minutes. His phone rang. Catherine double quotes William. Where are you? There are police cars everywhere. Stay in the bedroom. Lock the door. Don't let anyone in except me. What's happening? You're scaring me, please, Catherine. Just do it. I'm almost there. Alice came into view. Floodlights were on. Armed officers lined the walls. Marcus had called ahead and locked down the entire complex. William's car barely stopped before he was out and running. Through security, through the main entrance. Up the stairs, he burst into the bedroom. Catherine was standing by the window, her face pale. The children were still asleep in the adjoining room, unaware. We're safe, he told her, pulling her close. We're safe. But even as he said it, an explosion shook the palace walls. Asterisk, the blast wasn't close. But it was loud enough to wake the children. George appeared in the doorway, rubbing his eyes, Charlotte and Louis behind him. Dad. What was that? William's heart was racing, but he forced his voice to stay calm. Just some construction nearby. Go back to bed. It sounded like a bomb, George said. He was old enough to understand more than William wanted him to. It wasn't. Come here. The 3 children rushed to their parents. William and Catherine wrapped their arms around them, holding tight. Marcus appeared at the door, his face grim but controlled. Sir, we need to move you to the secure location. Now, what happened? Vehicle explosion. Southgate. No casualties. But we need to assume another explosion. Closer this time. The windows rattled. Now, Marcus shouted. William scooped up Louis. Catherine grabbed Charlotte's hand. George stayed close to his father's side. They moved quickly through the corridors. Protection officers surrounding them on all sides. The secure location was 3 floors below ground. A bunker built decades ago, upgraded with modern technology. Reinforced walls. Independent air supply. Communication systems that couldn't be jammed. The door sealed behind them with a heavy clang. Inside, Sarah was coordinating with her team. Screens showed camera feeds from around the palace. One screen showed flames at the south gate. Another showed armed officers taking positions. Status, William demanded. 2 vehicle explosions at separate gates, Sarah reported. Appears to be diversionary tactics. No breach of palace grounds. All family members accounted for. Staff sheltering in designated safe rooms. Brennan. No visual confirmation yet, but she stopped as one of her officers called out. We have a possible sighting. North perimeter. Single male. Matches Brennan's description. The camera feed showed a figure in dark clothing moving along the outer wall. He was carrying something. A bag. Large enough to hold? He's got explosives, Marcus said. He's trying to breach the wall. Why? William asked. He has to know he can't get in. Not now. Not with full lockdown. Sarah's eyes widened. He doesn't want to get in. He wants us to think he does. Then what's he really? William stopped. His blood went cold. A hospital visit. Windsor, the school. It was all misdirection. He wanted us to cancel everything, to bring the children home, to lock down the palace, to concentrate us all in one place, Marcus finished. He's not trying to breach the wall, William said. He's already inside. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Sarah grabbed her radio. All units, I repeat, all units. Suspect may already be inside palace grounds. Full sweep. Check every room, every closet, the lights went out. Emergency generators kicked in after 5 seconds, bathing the bunker in red light. But those 5 seconds felt like an eternity. He's cut the power, Marcus said. He knows the layouts. He knows where everything is. William looked at his children. George was trying to be brave, but couldn't hide his fear. Charlotte was crying quietly. Louis clung to Catherine. This is what Brennan wanted. To trap them underground, like animals. You can't stay here, William said. Sir, this is the safest. This is a cage. If he's inside, if he knows where we are, we're trapped. We need to move. Move where? Sarah asked. William thought fast. The Royal Mews. The garages. We get in vehicles and we drive out. Straight through the gates if we have to. That's incredibly risky. Riskier than sitting here waiting for him to find a way in. Marcus and Sarah exchanged looks. They both knew William was right. Okay, Marcus said. But we do this smart. Decoy vehicles. Multiple routes. Split the family. No, Catherine said firmly. It was the first time she'd spoken since entering the bunker. We stay together, Your Royal Highness. Tactically together, she repeated. Her voice was steel. If something happens, it happens to all of us. These children are not watching their parents die in separate cars. William had never loved her more than in that moment. Together, he agreed. They moved quickly. Up the service stairs. Along the back corridors. Away from the main palace areas where Brennan would expect them to be. Protection officers led the way, weapons drawn. Every corner was checked. Every shadow investigated. They reached the mews without incident. 3 Range Rovers were waiting, engines running, armored, bulletproof glass. Built to withstand attacks, middle vehicle, Marcus directed. Stay low, stay quiet. They climbed in. George sat between his parents. Charlotte and Louis were wrapped in Catherine's arms. 6 protection officers surrounded the vehicle. 3 more vehicles would serve as decoys. On my mark, Marcus said into his radio. 3, 2, 1. Go. All 4 vehicles roared to life. The gates opened. They burst onto the London streets at high speed. William looked back through the rear window. The palace was lit up like a Christmas tree now, swarming with police and security. They'd made it out. But then, William saw something that made his heart stop. Another vehicle was following them. A van, dark, no plates. We've got a tail, the driver said, seeing it too. Lose it, Marcus ordered. The Range Rover accelerated. They wove through London streets at speeds that would have been illegal in any other circumstance. But the van stayed with them. William pulled his children closer. Catherine's hand found his and squeezed tight. The van was getting closer. Hold on. The driver shouted. They swerved left, then right. The van matched every move. Then suddenly police cars appeared from side streets. For 6:10, they formed a barrier, boxing in the van. The van skidded to a stop. Officers swarmed it, guns drawn. Shouting commands, William watched as they pulled someone from the driver's seat. Thomas Brennan. He wasn't fighting, wasn't resisting. He just stood there, strangely calm, as they handcuffed him. The Range Rover stopped. Marcus jumped out, weapon ready, approaching the scene. William wanted to go to him, to demand answers. But he stayed in the vehicle with his family. Marcus came back 5 minutes later. His face was pale. It's over, he said. Brennan's in custody. What about the explosives? William asked. The bag he was carrying? Empty. The explosions at the palace, they were small. Dramatic, but not lethal. The van, it's clean. No weapons. William frowned. I don't understand. Marcus climbed into the vehicle. Neither do we. Not completely. But Brennan's talking. He says he was never going to hurt anyone. Then what was this? William demanded. The threats. The planning. The map of my children's school? A test, he claims. A test of palace security. He says he was hired to expose weaknesses. To prove the system was vulnerable? Hired by who? He won't say, but sir, he wanted you to see it. He wanted you to know that if someone really wanted to hurt your family, they could. The real threat wasn't him. It was the system that let him get this far. William sat back, processing. Everything Brennan had done, the leaks, the threats, the map, it had all been designed to force William to see the vulnerabilities, and it had worked. He's still going to prison, Sarah said, climbing in. What he did was illegal. Dangerous. But she hesitated. He might have just saved your lives. The vehicle started moving again. This time toward a secure location outside London. Somewhere the family could rest while investigations continued. William held his children close. George had fallen asleep against his shoulder. Charlotte and Louis were curled against Catherine. We were lucky tonight, Catherine whispered. No, William replied. We were warned. And I'm going to make sure this never happens again. He pulled out his phone and called the head of royal security. When they answered, William's voice was calm but absolutely certain. I want a complete overhaul. Every protocol. Every person. Every system. I don't care how long it takes or how much it costs. My family's safety is not negotiable. 3 months later, the security changes were complete. Thomas Brennan was sentenced to 12 years for conspiracy and threat to royal persons. The person who hired him was never found, though investigations continued. William never forgot that night. The fear, the uncertainty, the feeling of being hunted in his own home. But he also never forgot the lesson. Security wasn't about protocols and procedures. It was about people. About trust. About being willing to question everything when something didn't feel right. The hospital visit was rescheduled. William went, surrounded by the best security team in the world. The children's faces lit up when they saw him. Parents cried tears of joy, and William knew that all the fear, all the danger, had been worth it. Because some things matter more than safety. Hope matters. Joy matters. Showing up matters. And on that day, surrounded by families who needed to believe in something good, William understood what it truly meant to be a prince. Not the title, not the palace, not the crown, but the willingness to face danger so others could feel safe. That night, as he tucked his children into bed, George asked him a question. Dad, were you scared? William could have lied, could have pretended he was always brave. Instead, he told the truth. Terrified. But being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing what's right anyway. George thought about that. Then he smiled. I want to be like that when I grow up. William kissed his forehead. You already are, son. You already are. Outside, London slept. The palace stood strong. And somewhere in a prison cell, Thomas Brennan sat with the knowledge that he'd done a terrible thing for what he believed was the right reason. But in the end, the only thing that mattered was this. The family was safe. And tomorrow would come with new challenges, new threats, new fears. But they would face them together, because that's what families do.